Hello and welcome to Soap Secrets. Now this week, joining me again is Claire Rock. You're always joining me. I don't know why I introduce you. You are a permanent fixture, Claire, brilliantly. So shall we talk about Corrie? Because I do love Coronation Street, but there's a really big bombshell in Corrie, isn't there, this week? We discover who Imran's secret lover is.
Yes, and this really excited me when I heard about this. I was getting really, really excited because we all remember when the guilty verdicts came in for Imran's client Kelly. He disappeared. I mean, Abby disappeared, but he disappeared that night. Now, as we remember, Kelly really needed her solicitor because she'd just been found guilty for a murder she hadn't committed, and she was really upset. And she went and she tried to commit suicide. She did something really shocking, and she was really distressed. And Imran wasn't there, and no one knew where he was. Well, people thought that he'd spent the night at Sabine's, his ex. And Sabine is a piece of work, shall we say. But actually, he hadn't spent the night at Sabine's, but she knows, had a one-night stand, and so she's been using this information to blackmail him, to help her get drug lord Harvey Gaskill off on his appeal. So we remember what he did to Leanne and to Simon and everything, and so she's been blackmailing him. Now, you know, Imran's a lovely guy. He doesn't want to deal with another criminal, and he's just had enough this week. It all comes to a head. He's really, really struggling with it, and there's only one way to stop the blackmail. So he confesses his one-night stand to Toya Hannah, and but he actually says it was with a stranger. Now we have to ask ourselves: is he telling the whole truth?
He's not, is he? Who is it with?
You will be shocked when you find out.
Really? Gail. Oh no.
Yes. It could be anyone. It could absolutely be anyone.
It could be. Yeah, he's not saying that. Yeah. Oh no. Wow. That is a big storyline, actually, because it's kind of bringing up something that's not been put to bed yet.
Yes.
And also this week we've got Abby returning to the street, haven't we?
Yes. We've seen for the past couple of weeks, Kevin has been really struggling without his fiancée or his ex-fiancée, because she said she couldn't marry him. He was looking for her last week. He confronted her ex, Tez, and suddenly, he falls asleep on the sofa. He wakes up and there she is standing in the kitchen like nothing's happened. He's oblivious, I think, to her state of mind. And he thinks everything now is going to get back to normal. He thinks maybe she just had her son's trial had been, had gone ahead, and she was very, very distressed about all of that. So he thought maybe she just needed a couple of weeks away. And he gets back to organising the wedding, Hannah.
How can you just go back to organise the wedding? She's gone for all that time. I mean, does she explain herself?
No, she just comes back. What does she have planned? What did she spend the £2,000 on? Was it just on bread, food and boarding, rent, staying in a hotel? That's what she tells Kevin. Did she go back onto drugs? Because she does have form on that. She spent £2,000.
Knows how to choose them, doesn't he, our Kev? More heartache I see in my crystal ball. Okay, heartache in Emmerdale. I think you're going to ask me a question, aren't you, about how many killers there are living in Emmerdale, and genuinely, I do not know. So
I thought this was an interesting point because, Mina obviously is a serial killer, and she's the current Flavour of the Month serial killer. So I thought, well, there are actually, there are about 4 current serial killers or killers living in Emmerdale. Of course, there have been a huge number throughout the soap's history. And actually next year, Hannah, it's Emmerdale's 50th birthday. So Mina's the obvious one. We also, don't forget, we have Dawn. She killed Malone about this time last year. Dodgy policeman Malone. We have Moira. Moira killed her arch enemy Emma Barton back in 2017 when she pushed her off a viaduct.
See, people do not get the justice in these programmes. As us talking about, they have to, make sure they get justice. It's not happening.
No. Somebody did go down for that murder, but it wasn't Moira. And then there's Eric Pollard. Now, this one is a bit of a grey area. His wife, Elizabeth, died in 1993 when a plane hit the village. So there was that was years ago. That's 30 years ago. There was a massive plane came down on the village and killed a lot of people. And parts of the wreckage fell on Eric Pollard's cottage. Now, the question that's never quite been answered is, was she already dead when the wreckage hit the cottage, or did the wreckage kill her? Because Eric at that time was a bit of a baddie, but now became a stalwart.
He was a baddie at the beginning, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, you're quite right. Oh my goodness, they're all living there. All these well, we keep talking about Mina getting a comeuppance. I think probably in 20 years' time, if we're still here, Claire, we're talking about how she's still in the village. No problem. So Mina is really on a mission, though, isn't she, this week? The killer is back.
Yes. She wants to get rid of Victoria once and for all. She's massively, massively jealous of the relationship Victoria has with David. And last week we saw her banning Victoria from visiting David at home, and she fiddled with David's meds. She left him in pain so that he was completely reliant on her. And this week, it's the start of the survival challenge. Now, this is going to be really important for next week, Hannah, when it's Super Soap Week. There's a survival challenge going on, and all of the village taking part. And this Friday, it's the setup. And so Mina and David have set their tent up, and Victoria have set her tent up. And Mina's in the tent, and David goes outside and he finds Victoria, and this is what he tells her. This is what all the fans want. He tells her he loves her.
Ooh.
But Mina has overheard.
And that means that Victoria has to go.
Yes, quite.
Now, is Victoria exiting the show? That's what we need to know.
So, of course, next week, Hannah, it's Super Soap Week, and Corrie and Emmerdale are going to have some superb action and episodes, and it's one not to miss. So all will be revealed next week.
Absolutely. Wow. Gosh. Absolutely brilliant. So, Hollyoaks. Warren, always in a fix, but he's in a particular fix this week. Yes.
Now, the fans know that Warren was the driver of the car that killed Brodie in the hit and run.
Yeah.
Which is shocking, absolutely shocking. Now, I mean, so this takes Warren's total to 7, I think.
Wow, 7
people he's killed. I think that's... I'd like to keep an eye on how many people Warren has killed.
Too many. One's too many, frankly.
He's a baddie. And so Sienna is determined to find out who killed Brodie. Now, Brodie was the love of her life. She wants justice for him. And Warren tries to put her off because he knows who killed Brodie, because he knows it was him behind the wheel. So later, Sienna tells him she's found an eyewitness to the hit and run. Now, this puts Warren in a massive panic. He picks up a gun, and it seems like he might do something about it. So is this eyewitness in danger?
Or maybe Sienna is.
Yes.
Well, she's the one that's wanting to find out. I don't see any police officers sniffing around.
Sienna, of course, is Warren's ex-partner and the mother of his twins, so he might...
spare her.
Yes. But of course, Sienna isn't Warren's only problem this week. Fergus and Warren are in cahoots and agree to bring their dodgy job forward to start making plans to leave the village. But when Warren has a change of heart and Fergus discovers his gun, this can only lead to disaster. So what is Fergus up to? Is he going to fit Warren up? Because he has his gun. He's got, this gun has, Warren's fingerprints on it. What's Fergus going to do with it?
Exactly. God, it's sort of it's spiraling, isn't it? We talked about this before. Like, the lies become more lies, and it spirals out of control. I think one of them's going to meet a very sticky end here.
Yes. Well, of course,
finally,
all this is tied up. This isn't just separate, because stalker Timmy declares his love for Perry this week, and he makes the mistake of saying he's been watching her on camera. So
yeah, why would you do that?
Because he's not very bright.
It's just unbelievable.
I know. So is Fergus's Operation Bluebird about to be discovered? Because if somebody said to you, a stalker said to you, Hannah, "Oh, I love you," that would be a bit scary. But if then they said to you, "And I've been watching you on camera," you would go straight home and tear the house apart, wouldn't you?
Well, you go straight home and call the police. I mean, that is just so awful. That would just be so awful, just somebody invading your privacy in that way.
And we know that
it's terrible.
We know that Timmy, of course, is your IT department behind Fergus's Bluebird operation. So he's the guy that records and does all the IT stuff.
Oh, it's all going on. It's all going on. Okay, now the drama doesn't stop, because we're going to talk EastEnders now, finally, and the Gray storyline is absolutely hotting up this week, isn't it? I mean, Gray's sort of been out in the wilderness for a little bit, and now he's back with a bang.
So Chelsea, Gray's placeholder girlfriend, while he waited for Whitney, thinks she's pregnant.
Oh.
So, oh my God, is she pregnant? Is she pregnant? And if she were pregnant, what would serial killer Gray do? Now, he killed his wife Chantel, and he was a domestic abuser. But he always is there for his children. So, if Chelsea were to be pregnant, what does this mean? Because Gray does take care of his kids. So, would this put Chelsea in his line of sight for another victim, because she is now blocking Whitney, so to speak, isn't she? And he wants Whitney.
He wants Whitney. So would he harm his unborn child if she is pregnant, or will this secure a place for Chelsea in the sort of I can't touch, in the untouchable position? I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, that is a really difficult question to answer, because his two children, he hasn't harmed them in any way, shape or form. So it could go either way, really.
He's gone to such great lengths to get Whitney as well. I mean, seeing Kush off in the way that he did, and this is kind of the plan finally falling into place, and of course this is a spanner in the works. Also, what's he doing for money? Because he's not working. Can he get another job?
He can't. He's been blacklisted. So no one will hire him. And he tries to use Tina's bank card again, and the account's empty. Oh. So he is in serious trouble. London is and all everywhere in the UK is covered with CCTV. So I would imagine that the police could easily find out that Gray is trying to access Tina's bank account, because they must be able to trace the card, know when it was, and look at the CCTV.
Yeah, absolutely. So will it all come in on, maybe the kind of it's tightening on Gray now. Before now he was a pillar of the community, a lawyer, etc., etc. But perhaps now it's all changed.
Yes. I think Tina's body has to pitch up at some point for this really to get going, because at the moment, Kush has been ruled as as a tube train accident. Chantel was a domestic accident when she slipped and fell. Tina They just think she's gone missing because the police want her for attempted murder on Ian. But if her body were to turn up, that puts a whole different light on Tina's murder.
Of course it does. And then the whole point of the what they're looking for will change. And Kim is starting to look into what actually happened to her husband Vince when he disappeared, isn't she?
Yes. Yes, so her husband Vince disappeared, about 2 or 3 years ago, and so something really odd happens this week. A children's entertainer pitches up in the square, and he's using her husband's name, Vince Hubbard. And she's sure when she sees this entertainer that he has Vince's wallet. She doesn't know where her husband's gone. He's never made contact with her, and she's thinking, what's going on? Why does he have my husband's wallet, and why is he using his name? Will she get to the bottom of it? And what exactly does Phil Mitchell know? Because you know how dodgy Phil is, and Vince was never Mr. Whiter than White. He was also into shady dealings, shall we say? But of course, we know where Vince went, because Richard Blackwood, who played Vince in EastEnders, is now in Hollyoaks as Felix.
Yeah, so he's not coming back. Sorry, folks. There's a spoiler right there. It's all going. That's such a weird storyline, though, don't you think?
Yes. It'd be.
I mean, the idea just someone busking, children's entertainer, and just happens to have, what's going on? Wow, right, well, that is it for this week. We're gearing up for Super Soap Week next week, so we will be back with an absolute bang, and there'll be loads going on, so make sure that you set the record, or clear your diary, I should say, is probably the best thing to do next week. Until then, have a great week, and we'll see you then.